Welcome to the Top Builder Solutions Getting Started Workshop Level 1 Administrative Overview. In this special training, we're going to look specifically at the tools and utilities that are available to account administrators and ways that we can get a lot of work done with just a few clicks. But there is one slide we'll take a look at before we jump into Top Builder, and it's how training and support works. This is important for everyone at every level within the account. So while you're trying to administer that account, if you have questions or you run against something you're not certain of, there's lots of ways to get answers. The first way, of course, is always available to you. It's your help center, and it's always directly inside of Top Builder Solutions. If I'm looking at my dashboard, it is always here. And of course, when I click it, I always get a fresh window that pops up. This window will have everything I need in it. It's got all of the topics, and there's videos and guides available. Now, of course, if I don't find what I need here, there's always more ways to get answers. We always train 5 days a week. As an administrator, it would be advantageous to sign up for a Level 2 training, which is a more open Q&A, and we can also go over the more advanced features of Top Builder Solutions. So that's a good one to come into once you've done that Level 1, and you've gotten kind of a good feel for the layout of the system and the basics. Now, of course, once you've done some trainings, if you still have questions, you can always email us directly at support@topbuildersolutions.com, or you can call us directly, and we'll make sure we get you helped out. Let me switch over to Top Builder Solutions now. We will close our Help Center. That's always available for us should we need it. Now, there are some tools that are only available to administrators. Some of these are located right in the Setup tab. And usually we'll list, of course, if it's specific to an administrator. And in this case, User Setup is one of the most important things that an administrator does on their account. Let me pull this up here just so you can see it. Now, of course, when we change or add users to the account, we have a lot of options as administrators that they don't have just through their profile. So you'll notice when we start looking through here, we're going to have a lot of users. Some of these guys may or may not be active in the system, and the way that we can tell whether or not they still have an active login, in other words, they still can actually use Top Builder, is this little box here, user is active. If it's checked, they are in fact a user that can access the system. If it's unchecked, their user license has been deactivated and their login as well. This is a way that if someone leaves the company, rather than deleting them, which is something you never want to do, we would never want to take a user out of Top Builder Solutions. We merely want to make them deactive. And that way, later on, if we run an aging report from a period of time they were still with the company, we'd like for their information to show up on that report. So we're going to leave Julie in the system here, but we're going to take her out as an active user because she's not an employee any longer. And I'll show you how we can even take all of her leads and contacts and move them over to someone else once we get into the Tools and Utilities section. But just know that each user has a lot of different options here. And of course, we can set things like Sales Manager Administrator, and we can even give them certain access levels within Top Builder Solutions. Now, we can also set which communities they're associated with. If they haven't set their own alert preferences under my profile, we can do it for them as an administrator. I can also change their signature block, their email signature block that helps with email integration. And then if I have any specific services, then I can go ahead and add those onto that one as well. So each time I have a new user, I'll just click New User, of course, pop in my details, and set up all of their accesses and save them. And I can always add new users that way, and then taking old ones out by just unchecking User is active. That's a feature that every administrator will eventually use. So please know that's always available to you, and it's important that you do make sure that you deactivate any licenses that you're not using. That way you don't get charged from in the future. Now, also under Setup, another thing that an administrator will do is managing communities. Now, not every builder uses communities, but those who do use them for many different reasons, and chances are you have different employees assigned to each one. So of course here, under Communities, just like we saw under the User Setup, we have the ability to associate certain employees with this community. Now keep in mind there are a few things we have to remember on each one of these as we look at them. We always have a specific name for our community, but this is changeable. If Angler's Cove eventually becomes something else, I could easily come and change this to whatever it needs to be. It's the ID number that truly actually sets this particular community apart in the system. So I can change this at will and know that the information that this is associated with remains associated with it, with no problems. Now I also have the option And this is always checked by default when I add a new community to publish this community to our website or contact form. This is basically saying it's an active community that I am trying to sell to. If I've sold this community out, well, I'll need to uncheck it so that people aren't still actively sending requests for it, but I might also put in sold out data in the system just so I know when we stopped selling for that particular community. Of course, we always want to keep all the data inside of the CRM system. We never want to delete it. We just move forward with it in a different way. So this is how we set up our communities. We never want to delete them out of the system unless they're erroneous and never have been used. Now, of course, another administrative tool we'll use is going to be managing lead status values. So if you've gone through the basic CRM overview, you know that a lot of these lists and Top Builder solutions are changeable. They're customizable to the way that you do business or the terminology that you use. Lead status values are no different. Now, they are different in the way that we change them. There's not a handy little edit list in the dropdown, and that's because not everybody should be able to change these. These are important. These are linked directly to your follow-up plans, and in fact, they're also linked to your sales process. And we can't just have everyone changing that. So this is more of an administrator sales manager feature. But just know that I can come in here, of course. I can change the order that they appear. I can make sure that it's active or deactive. If it's an inactive step, it's not going to show up in my leads. And that would be true for lead lost, or once I turn them into a customer, I'm not necessarily trying to sell to them anymore. And you'll notice some of these allow renames, some don't even allow you to delete them. But just like almost anything else in Top Builder Solutions, I can change the wording, I can delete the ones that aren't used, or I can add a fresh one that's not represented, just like any other list. So I want to make sure that this is how I change the list that represents my sales process. There are a few other things that we can do as administrators, like follow-up plans and automated emails. Now, follow-up plans we won't get too deep into here. I will show them to you, but a follow-up plan is really a definite level 2 topic. We can really dive into these and show you how to create these, how to utilize them at their most, and then of course, if you have Top Builder's Quick Start, we can show you how to use it effectively. But you'll notice that these plans are complete. When I come into follow-up plans to manage these, I can see each plan I have, and I can see each step associated with the plan. I can edit it, delete it, I can add new ones, and if I want to know what's in that email, I can also click on that and go to that specific email and even change the content associated with that automated email. So this is a very handy way to sort of mold those quick start plans around the way I do business. Maybe some of the wording doesn't match exactly how I would have it. I do want to make sure that this plan sounds like something I would send out. So I can come in and I can edit any of this information and make it sound more like something I would send if it's a little bit different. So I can come and I can change these at will. Now, I do want to make sure when I'm managing automated emails, one quick note. If we load a quick start plan, we load it with a failsafe that basically says there's no real way to start sending out automated emails on accident. You have sort of a consequence-free environment to play around with the plans and not worry about sending customers actual emails. So the way that we make sure that happens is, and you'll see when I go into manage automated emails, when we load these into your system, the publish box will be unchecked. In other words, the Top Builder system will not see this as a fit email to send. It can be associated with as many different tasks or schedules as we want, but if it is not in fact published, it will not leave the system. So we do want to make sure that when we load this in there for you, that you're able to go in, edit that, and then in the very last step, it will ask you if this email is ready to be published, and if it is, we'll go ahead and check that and click Done. And that will in fact go ahead and check that box, and now the consequence-free environment goes away and I can start using this in a very real sense. I can make sure that that email is getting to my customer. And so anytime we load a quick start plan for you, please make sure that you go through, check each one of those emails, read the content, make sure it looks like something you would in fact send, and then approve it by approving it to publish. Now that is primarily what you're going to use the setup for. Of course, each individual person always has access to their My Profile, which is something we covered in the CRM overview. Now, if you have a contact form or an interface. And you want to be able to change those rules. Please note that once those are set up for you, you'll be able to change or add processing rules right here in one of these two sections. So this is a way that you could administer those right here inside of TopBuilder Solutions, which is a very unique option. Now, tools and utilities will be sort of the last section you'll use primarily as an administrator. There are some very handy tools in here. Some of these kind of have to do with changing around contacts. So earlier I mentioned we don't really want to take employees out when they leave. We just want to add new ones and then deactivate the old ones. But what do we do with all their stuff? They've probably accumulated tasks, contacts, leads, all of these things. Well, we need to move it to someone. And that's what the reassignment utility does. The reassignment utility does a lot of work for us in just a few clicks. And it can do it in two different ways. I can either take everything from a single person and I can give it to another. So let's just say, of course, that Julie has left the company and will be replaced in this case by me. Well, I want to make sure that I get all of her contacts, all of her leads. More importantly, though, if I have contact forms online, I want to make sure those are updated without me doing any work. That's what these two checkboxes ensure. So let's make sure those are stay checked, and then let's just click reassign. And what will happen here, the system will go through and it'll say that Julie had 12 tasks. Well, they're mine now. So I might have had 20 past due tasks a while ago. I have far more now. So here are the tasks that I've moved over from Julie. Now I can also take everything associated with a specific community and move it to a new person should another person not be associated with that community anymore. So the reassignment tool does a lot of work for us with just a few clicks. And it is something you'll use as an administrator potentially at one point or another. So this is what we use when people kind of come or go within the company. Now, of course, we can find duplicate leads as well. This is a big utility. We call this the dedupe tool. It's big enough it has its own training. I would highly recommend checking out that training before you use the dedupe tool. This is a powerful utility that allows you to manage your database on the back end. This is not absolutely necessary, and what I mean by that is TopBuilder Solutions is already intelligent enough that we'll never send to a duplicate. So if I have two customers with the same exact email in the system, and I have them both on the newsletter, they're only going to get it once. And it'll bounce back the second one to me and basically tell me that it's only going to send it to the first. So we never send to duplicates already. Please understand that, and that is peace of mind. This is a tool to manage your database should you want to clean it up. Take all of those duplicates out. So if I have multiple guys in the system named Bob White, and I really just want to end up with one, this is a way I can merge them together and end up with all of the data I want by the time I'm done. So this is a powerful tool. It is a big tool, and it's not the quickest tool to use. So it is one that you're going to have to kind of play around with because you have a large database, chances are. And if you have a large database, it's going to take time to manage it. If it's a small database, this might just be a little quick one for you. But know that this is out here for you, but this is an optional tool. And please come to us if you have any questions about it because your data is important and we want to make sure that we don't mess it up as we go through this process. Now, of course, the last little utility that we see here that has to do with administering is the applying follow-up plans to existing leads. Now, other people will have access to this, but this is something really an administrator or sales manager is going to use. And what this does is if we have imported a group of leads for you, or perhaps maybe some leads were entered manually, and they never had next steps on them, and there's enough of them there you really don't want to go through one at a time. This is a handy way to filter through those leads quickly, to find the ones that you need, and then to mass apply follow-up plans to those leads all at once. It saves a lot of time. So if I have 100 leads I've just imported from BDX, but not a single one of them has a BDX plan on it, well, sure enough, I could go ahead and go through my lead sources and I could find BDX or New Home Source or whatever it is I'm looking for, and I can check mark that. So I have ways that I can look for them by where they come from. Of course, their lead status, the priority of the lead, and the lead type. So I can go through here and I can knock this list down to a very specific list, and then I can go in here and say, well, here is the plan that I'll be applying. So I know that these were all BDX leads I searched for, and this is my BDX plan. If I'm looking at that plan and I'm wondering, is that the right one? Well, sure enough, I can go ahead and say view follow-up plans, and I can see what they look like. So if I pull up that BDX plan, I know it's a nice 21-step plan. It looks good. That's what I'm going to go ahead and use. So I can just go ahead and say apply plan to selected leads. And of course, I'm going to want to select those leads first. So I have 17 plan leads that'll get this plan. There is one little checkbox over here though that's an important one to remember. Delete any outstanding tasks. If I've gone in and manually added any tasks, I might want to take those out. If I'm going with a standardized plan, maybe those tasks no longer match. So I'd want to check this box to get rid of them, but now I might want to go ahead and keep those tasks around even though I'm adding this plan. If I leave this unchecked, what is there will stay there, and I'll merely add this other plan on top of what's already there. That's a powerful feature. That would actually allow me to add multiple plans to a single lead. Keep that in mind. That is a handy way that you can use this, and you might even think of cool ways that you could do that if you have a multi-layered sales process. So that is the administrative tools in a nutshell. Once you're administering your account, you'll find a lot of new things that you're going to have to do, and if you have questions about that, if you have questions about how to get users in or out of the system and whether they are in fact active or deactive, feel free to always contact us. And of course, I'm going to put the slide back up. support@topbuildersolutions.com. That is the easiest way to reach us via email. And also take note of those phone numbers. You can always reach us there, and we are happy to help. I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening to the Administrative Overview.